Hello, welcome to another episode of Me on the Road, my video series of experiences over the years as being a traveling musician and actually on the road and in the studio, and just things that have happened to me in my life, music related. Anyway, this episode is meeting Ringo Starr. I've always had a dream of meeting a Beatle. I'm sure anybody that knows me knows my devotion to the Beatles, their music, their lifestyle, everything about them has always fascinated me. I'm constantly reading anything credible about them, and as of late with this new Get Back series out by Peter Jackson, I just got through watching all 3 episodes. Just fascinating stuff. Not for everyone, but for me, growing up in bands and growing up with the Beatles being one of my main influences, it's just beyond unbelievable for me. Anyway, my story of meeting Ringo. I've been playing with Mike for a long time, since Michael McDonald, since 1988. And along the way, we did some shows with Toto, Los Angeles bass band, incredible musicians and songwriters, David Page, Steve Porcaro, Jeff Porcaro, Joseph Williams, and Steve Lukather, of course, great guitar player. And I'm proud to say over the years, we've become friends, and he's always been super gracious to me, super sweet. And he can be intimidating as a guitar player being around, because in my opinion, he's maybe the best guitarist in the world, certainly for my taste. Anyway, we've done gigs with Toto over the years, and I've hung with Steve, and makes me laugh. And we discovered we both had a deep love for the Beatles through conversations. And then somewhere 2013, 2014, somewhere around there, Luke got the guitar spot with Ringo Starr in his all-star band. So Luke was doing that gig with Ringo in between Toto. In 2013, we started, Michael did a tour, and Toto was the co-headliner. We would trade off nights where Mike would open or Toto would open. We always felt that we were the better opener, even though nothing to slight Mike's music at all. But Toto was just such a phenomenon, dynamic rock band, fusion jazz rock band. We always felt a little weird coming on after them. But, you know, we pulled our weight. Anyway, in conversations with Luke through this tour we did with Toto, 2013, 2014, somewhere in there. We got to talking about his gig with Ringo and some of his Beatles stories, and he told me, he said, look, if you want to come see Ringo, I'll hook you up. And I said, oh, I'm going to hold you to that. And sure enough, in 2014, I think it was, I think I've got the ticket stub right over there. Well, maybe I'll superimpose it when I do the editing on this. It's either 2013 or 2014, one or the other. October 3rd, I believe. And I saw that Ringo was on a tour, and we were not on the road. And Ringo, I knew he was coming to Nashville, but I hate to ask my musician friends. I don't even like asking for tickets, even under normal circumstances. I always feel like I'm imposing, because I know what a kind of a pain it can be putting people on the guest list, and everybody will come out of the woodwork at once. I'm always happy to oblige to a certain extent, because, you know, I'm a guitar player. I'm not, Michael's the headliner. He's the one who should have all the tickets. But anyway, Luke told me, don't hesitate to ask me. So I saw they were playing in Nashville. I didn't want to ask him because I know Nashville is kind of like LA or New York. It can be a real pain to oblige the amount of people that request tickets, free tickets. Anyway, but I saw he was playing in St. Louis, which is about a 4 or 5 hour drive from here. It's not too bad. So I contacted Luke and I said, what do you think? And he said, absolutely. So Adam, my son Adam, couldn't make it for some reason. But my wife Gail and my daughter Rachel, we got 3 tickets for us. And we drove to St. Louis the day of the show. And I was a nervous wreck pretty much the whole way, but especially when we got close to St. Louis, because it was commute traffic and we got stuck. And I thought sure I was going to be late. We were going to miss the show because we were just stuck in standstill traffic and it was just, oh my God. And my daughter was shooting video of me on her iPhone. I know that exists somewhere, of me just acting like a complete idiot. Anyway, we got there, we checked into our hotel, went over, and they were playing at the Fox Theater. Beautiful, beautiful theater in St. Louis. And we go to the venue finally, and we go up to the box office. I can't remember exactly how this all went, but we went up to the box office where the will call, where our tickets were supposed to be. Well, they weren't there. And of course they said they didn't know when they were running a little late. And so somebody said, well, try going around the back. So I went around where the tour bus was, because I'm so used to doing that under normal circumstances. You know, that's where we go in and out of the gigs, is where the tour buses are parked behind the venue, the backstage door. So I went around there, and these guys that were on the crew just looked at me like, what the hell are you doing? Get the hell out of here. So I felt like an idiot. So we went back up. We finally went back to will call, and lo and behold, our tickets were there. So we waited in the lobby, but they told us that we had to be escorted back. It was nerve-wracking. It really was. And so there were other people waiting too, and they were having trouble getting in. So we were nervous that it wasn't going to work out. Anyway, finally, we're standing there. All of a sudden, this woman comes and says, Bernie Cervelli here? And I raised my hand, and she goes, come with me. And we're like, okay. So she proceeded to take us through a series of doors and hallways that were away from the main fray. And before we knew it, we were backstage. And they took us to this little holding room. And there were about 10 people in all. This was before the show, mind you. And they said, just wait here. They knew we were guests of Steve Lukather. So they went upstairs, and then not long after, Steve came down the stairs and said, hey, Bern, and hugs for everybody. And he was playing his 12-string acoustic, which he warms up on a lot, which has inspired me. I have a 12-string I take on the road now, too, that I like to noodle on, because it strengthens your fingers to have the 12 strings as opposed to 6 to play. Anyway, that's what he was holding his 12-string, kind of noodling on it. And he said, Ringo will be down in a second. And he said, sometimes Ringo can be not in a great mood when it comes to meeting guests. Sometimes he shines it on completely. He goes, but you got him on a good night. He's in a good mood. I was like, oh, good, okay. So a few minutes went by. We were just talking. And all of a sudden, Ringo walks into the room. It kind of gives me chills and makes me a little emotional to think about it, because there was Ringo Starr, walking in the room, looking great, mind you. At this time, he was 74 years old, I remember. And he's now 81, so that was 7 years ago. So this must have been 2014. And he walked in, just looked incredible. And he went over and met a couple other people first. And then he came over to Luke. And him and Luke are really good friends. So he came over and, what do we have here? I can't remember exactly what he said. And he introduced us, shook all our hands. And Luke said, Bernie plays guitar for Michael McDonald. He's been his guitar player for a long time, and great guitar player. This is Luke's words. Playing for Michael McDonald for a long time, and Ringo goes, "Oh, really? You play guitar?" And he goes, "You want a gig?" And I'm like, you want a job? And I went, yes. And we all laughed because we knew he was joking. But it was very sweet of him to say that. And then Ringo goes, "Well, would you like a photo?" And we kind of went, yeah. And Luke said after that Ringo rarely does that. So again, we caught him on a good night. So as you'll see the picture that I flash up in the edit, there was Ringo with us. And it kind of wound down. We just kind of shot the breeze for a few more minutes. And of course, my awkwardness, I had to say, you don't know how much you've inspired me over the years. And I don't know, I guess they get tired of hearing that. But, he obliged me. He said, "Well, thanks, And, but for me, and I know a lot of musicians that worship the Beatles as much as I do, they really were, and still are to this day, just such a strong force for inspiration, not only musically, but just their style, their sense of style, their sense of spirituality, their sense of humor, the way they wore their hair, the way they grew beards, just all of it. And seemed like, for who they were, it seemed like normal guys to a certain degree. You of course, you can't help but be affected by the fame that they've received and gone through, but they still seem like regular guys, So anyway, and that was it. I can't thank Steve Lukather enough. He made that happen, and of course, I can't go without saying thanks to Michael McDonald, because if it wasn't for my gig with him, this would have never happened. So anyway, that's my Ringo story. I hope you enjoyed it. Still haven't met Paul. I've come really close a couple times, but not yet. We'll see. But meeting Ringo, that's almost enough. It actually really is enough. Anyway, thanks for tuning in for another episode. Another one coming up soon. Thanks for subscribing to this. If you're watching on YouTube, please do subscribe, because I post videos fairly regularly. And also on Patreon. If you haven't checked out my Patreon site, you get this and a lot more exclusive stuff over there. And all is centered on BernieCharavelli.com. So thanks, and by the way, I hope you all had a good Thanksgiving. All right, peace, love, bye-bye.